your college career, he's getting 20%. Man, I said, wow. Yeah. We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, best place to be is a group of 5. So I'm sitting here with the group of 5 guys, right?
Preach, that's what I'm saying.
Let's get some.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Let's get some.
Welcome into the #1 Group of 5 football podcast in all of the universe. This is the Group of 5 guys. Our mission is to be the voice for the Group of 5 football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to do. We need everybody's help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 guys. Go to group-of-5guys.com and get you some Group of 5 guys swag. Most importantly, go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, and tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode of Inside Drill, we've got new Middle Tennessee State head football coach Derek Mason. This episode is brought to you by the Boulevard Bar and Grill in Murfreesboro. Listen, if you're from Murfreesboro, if you went to MT, if you've been to Murfreesboro, you know the Boulevard. It's the best place in town, pregame, postgame, grab a drink, grab some food. I was up there for less than 12 hours and had the Boulevard to eat. Had to make it happen. Best burgers, pizza, everything you can imagine. Cold beer in the mason jars. You cannot beat it. Boulevard Bar and Grill, right across the street from campus too, so it's super convenient. Hope you guys enjoy this interview with Coach Mason. We get into NIL. We get into his growing up, why he got into coaching, why he got into football, and a whole bunch more. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, guys, we've been wanting to do this for a long time. If you've been a listener to the Group of 5 guys, you know this is home, man. Murfreesboro, this is where the ideas of this thing started. Group of 5 guys, this is where we, our group became best friends, really, and family, to this point. So we couldn't be more excited to be here with new Middle Tennessee head football coach, Derek Mason. Coach, we appreciate you, man. I know you're busy these first couple of months, so thanks for taking some time to hang out with us.
Hey, Group of 5 guys, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's truly an honor and pleasure to see where this thing started. Man, you guys are back home, but for me to be part of Blue Raider Nation, man, it's incredible.
Well, Coach, so like we said, this is home for us. Right. Neither one of us grew up here. I'm a Florida guy. He's a Cali guy.
Right.
But talk about before this. Everybody knows about Middle and Vanderbilt and Oklahoma State. Talk about growing up. Right. What made you start playing ball?
Really grew up in an athletic family. Dad was an athlete, played football at Arizona State, played junior college football, then played at Arizona State. My mom was a track athlete. And for me, her brothers and sisters, my dad he's one of 4 boys. So my grandma Pitts had 4 boys, and they were a handful. And then on the flip side, my mom is one of 8 siblings. So for me, I grew up around uncles who played. I grew up around women in the family who were just as athletic as the men. So for me, everything was a competition from one-legged sack races to playing, dominoes, spades, running track, hoops. Everything was competitive. And so, for me, football, baseball, basketball, I was an all-sport athlete and always around it. My parents split when I was younger, and, for me, spending so much time with my cousins, that's all we did. Grandma was like, go play. You can go play till the lights come on, right? Yeah. So I go play until the lights came on, and it was always me and my cousins, and I had a bunch of cousins. So, we played kill a man in the street, and everything in the backyard, and really just grew up around the game, in competitive sports. So for me to take that jump from playing Pop Warner football, Pee Wee football, to high school athletics to college athletics, I always knew I was going to college. And to have the opportunity to find myself, staying home, Could have went to bigger schools, chose Northern Arizona because I thought that fit me. My mom thought it fit me. My mom always told me to be myself. And I thought that was important because I was a very shy, maybe meek kid, good athlete, but just, sort of reserved. But I think as I got older and got around people and had it, that really started to become true friends. Just like you guys were talking about the college experience and what that does. I think high school, best friend, Kevin, we did a lot together. But when I went to college, that college experience was totally different for me at Northern Arizona, where I had a chance to meet people who would be in my wedding, who would be godfather to my children, who would be lifelong friends, coaches. And so, like, for me, my journey was probably not much different than yours. Just having an opportunity to be impacted by sports all the time, boys club, growing up. I think all those things to me sort of mattered and made me probably the competitive guy I am today.
That's awesome. I mean, that's definitely how we met, and I mean, it's one of my best friends for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's college football is special, man, and I don't think a lot of people realize it unless you're kind of in it in this brotherhood, fraternity, and it lasts you the rest of your life. So you get done playing in Northern Arizona, and then get into coaching, I assume, shortly after that. Spent a lot of time kind of on the West Coast a little bit.
I did.
And then worked your way, out this way. Is there any coach in particular, or any program that you spent that really helped shape you as a coach?
I think every step of the way, right? And I'll probably give you 5 or 6 along the way. But the first coach that I can remember was my mom. My mom took over my Pop Warner team like midway through the season. Coach got sick. I think we were 3-1. We finished the season like 9-1, won the division championship. But I saw how my mom cared for me and my teammates, because she was hard on us as a coach, and my mom knew football. So, like, for me to have my first coach, or my second coach, I should say, be my mom. I mean, it was pretty cool because mom was hard. She was a hard lady, and she knew how to be hard on all of us, but she was fair. And that's why I started to learn the meritocracy of sport. Okay, man, it's about being the best players play. Yeah. I wasn't one of the best when we started. I wound up being one of the best when we finished. And I think it had everything to do with those lessons that I learned like early, like how to compete. If you want it, man, you got to go get it. And so like that worked for me. After that, Dr. Gary Somo, my high school coach, like my position coach, I thought he affected me in more ways than one. He was an Italian, hard-charging coach from Youngstown, okay? Did not look like me, but brought me into his home and taught me that, good people are good people. People that love you, okay, love you. And they love you, for every part of you, not just for the things you can do, right? So I thought he taught me life lessons on how to judge people and be around good people and how to trust people. Then I think as I got into like college, my college coaching staff probably was pretty dynamic. Andy Reid, Brad Childress, Marty Morningwig, Billy Callahan. They were all on my first college staff. And then my second staff was a gentleman by the name of Steve Axman as a head coach, but then it was guys like Carl Durrell, Dino Babers, Jaime Hill. These guys were all on that second staff. So for me, I've always been around good coaches, right? Even though they were FCS coaches, they were really good coaches. And I thought those coaches impacted me because they really taught me the game of football. I went into college as a receiver and then wound up being a defensive back. And Brad said, listen, Derek, if you want to play early, you're going to have to flip to the other side, because we had older guys in the room, all right? And he said, we need defensive backs. Probably you're going to get on the field fast, because I was a return guy too. So started returning, and he gave me Brad Childress gave me confidence. Andy Reid instilled in me the ability to study the game. Study the game. Look, a lot of guys don't study the game. They just want to play the game. Yeah. And, you're going to be somewhat challenged, man, because you're not as big, not as tall as people, man, but you got to know angles. You got to understand what people are doing. You got to understand leverage. So I thought Andy helped me understand the game in a different way. At the collegiate level, man, there's been 4 guys that have impacted me the most. Okay, I'll start with saying probably the greatest impact on me at the collegiate level probably had to be Jim Harbaugh And for this one reason, I was in the NFL coaching for Brad Childress at the Minnesota Vikings, and he said something to me that I think helped change my trajectory. He told me to bet on me. Okay, leave the NFL. I wanted to be a coordinator. I wanted to be a head coach. And I was a position coach in the NFL, and I just thought it was getting long, right? I was in my 4th year. The resources weren't coming as fast as I thought. And so he challenged me to bet on me. And so I took a chance and went to Stanford University, and what we did in that 4-year run, I was only with Jim 1 year, but what we did in that 4-year run will probably never be paralleled again, going Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, back-to-back Rose Bowls. It was just a special time. But Jim was about Jim. Jim was about, challenging the status quo. And I thought, he's still doing it today. I was
going to say, that's him still.
He challenged everything in front of him. He challenged coaches. He challenged players. He challenged the administration to do better. And I thought that was, special to me. I look at, Mike Gundy. Spending some time with Mike Gundy was special, okay? I mean, it was only 1 year, but he is who he says he is. He's blue collar. He works hard. He can rock a mullet, okay, and move a fan base, and he don't care. Man, he still pumps weights, man. He'll get out there with the best of them. But I think for him, man, he knows who he is, right? And I think later in my career, okay, man, I understand that more now than ever. Man, be you, do you, right? And if I can go back a little bit, man, guys, Frank Solish. When we went to Ohio University after Frank had been let go and been out of football for a year, Frank, he knew he was going to be successful. Man, but he was the first coach to get let go at being 10-3, and what he taught me was humility. He went into Ohio University that hadn't won and turned that place into a winner, and is still, feeling the effects of what he did there. So I thought that was special. And then David Shaw, and this is a side note, but we did something at Stanford. When Jim left, David sort of became the de facto, candidate because Peterson and some other guys had turned down that job, and nobody really wanted to follow Jim. But David was a Stanford alum, and David did something that most people don't do, man. He took the job, and I don't even think he thought twice about it, but he wound up hiring myself and a guy by the name of Pep Hamilton, and we were all African American. So he was brave enough, at a place to do something that people, would talk about and sort of, tweet about on social media, man. But at the time, I don't even think he was thinking about it. I think he hired the best coaches.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was special to me. And so I think those guys, in different ways, have all impacted my journey. Mom, all the way through David Shaw. I mean, I think those guys have been standouts in my mind for what my career has been able to stand on.
You brought up, I don't know how many coaches you just listed, but those are some of the biggest names in coaching. So, yeah. It's impressive that, you've been around all those guys. And like you said, they might have been FCS coaches then, but now you're looking oh, you spent all this time around some of the best coaches in the game. And so to change gears on it a little bit, so you're kind of a West Coast guy.
Yeah.
You spent a bunch of time at Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. When you were at Vandy and then since then, was there ever a time, when you're sitting with your family, were you thinking, this Middle Tennessee area, I like this area, we want to get back there, or we want to make that home? And then when this opportunity happened, was it hey, this is our time?
Yeah, shout out to my man Raheem Morris, who just got the head job with the Falcons. But, to be honest, looking at it, my time at Vanderbilt was the longest time I had been at any place, really in my career. I was 7 years. And even when I went to Auburn, Oklahoma State, my family stayed in Nashville. So, I consider myself a Southerner. My daughters consider themselves like Nashville is like home to them because it's the place where they've been the longest, right? But as I look at how the job opportunity came along, I thought I was going back to the NFL. I really did. I had spent the off season, obviously, with ESPN, and really doing football with Leslie Frazier, because he was out this year, man. He stepped away from me just like I did. And so myself, Leslie Frazier, and and Brian Stewart, after his XFL season, we all got together on Thursdays and we would watch the NFL and talk through schemes and just keeping our skills sharp, because I thought I was going back to the league. Like 95%, I'm going back to the NFL, right? And so to have this job come up, man, it had to be God's intervention. It truly had to be, because I didn't want to leave my family. I didn't want to have to move to another spot and go find myself having to, have an apartment in Chicago or San Diego or LA or any other place. And so when this job came up, and it was the window was fast. It was like a 5-day window. Okay, you get a call, you have a conversation. The Parker Group wants to meet along with President McPhee, Chris, Lee De Leon. The initial conversation was good. And they had some good candidates. But like for me, man, I'm not afraid of anybody, man. Put me in an interview and let's go get it. Yeah. And so had a chance to get into the interview process. And when, I came in with a picture of my grandmother, David Williams. I got a picture that has 4 people in it, okay? And it has a picture of David Williams, my AD who passed away, Osei Lewis, a coach on my staff, man, who's from Arizona, a good friend who passed away, Turner Cockrell, okay, man, a player of mine that passed away in 2019 of cancer, and then my grandmother. And like those 4 people, like for me, are very instrumental in my journey at Vanderbilt and what it meant to me, because my grandmother always said that you do something special. And so I saw that. Osei came, I brought him from San Diego State with Rocky Long to implement something, and then within 6 months, he had contracted cancer and battled and fought and was in remission, but then passed away. Turner, in 19, we had just played Tennessee, and I went to go see him for the last time, and we beat Tennessee. It was the last time we beat Tennessee. And in that, man, like that memory just stands out, because it was 3 years in a row, and we had put something like on tape, man, that nobody can take away from us. And then like David Williams, just right before right after that 2019 season, David said he was going to step away, right? And so he steps away, and then we lose him in January. So within a 9-month period, man, I lost 4 people like dear to me, man. But that time, like even though it gave me adversity, it gave me great strength. And so when I went into the interview with the picture, and that was the last thing, the picture was down. But like when I was done interviewing, I said, like I want to thank you, man. But the biggest thing about like this journey, man, this is the next act, like for me. And these people, man, are sitting here with me, in this. And one thing I can guarantee you is that what we'll be able to do here at MTSU is this: we'll make sure we give a better product back, like to those parents than the one they drop off, and that's a promise. I've done that throughout my career, but it's now been solidified because these people here, man, have stood with me in this journey, and that's just sort of the way it went. And when it was all said and done, man, when I walked out of the interview, I thought it was on and popping. I thought, hey, man, I went in, I slayed it. It felt like one take Jake, and it was good, man, and it was good.
Talking to Chris and those guys after you got hired, they said you really impressed them in the interview process for sure. You mentioned your previous coaching stops, specifically your time at Vandy. Is there anything that translates from there to MT?
Yeah, when people look back, history always writes the story, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're in it, people pick it apart. But I think history will write the story of how we competed, like at that place and what we were able to do at that place. Man, we had a slow start, a great middle, okay, man, and a little bit of rough ending. But I think, like in the end, we graduated a lot of student athletes. Man, guys were family. Created some special memories. But I think at the time we were a team, man, that was just looking to be relevant, and we did some relevant things, like during my tenure there. This place, like to me, is it's similar but different. I think this place knows what it wants to do, and I think it's about like us getting together. I'm talking about alumni. I'm talking about Greek life. I'm talking about old and young. I'm talking about coaches from way back. Andy McCullum, Boots Donnelly. Okay, Stock. Look, man, they're all great coaches, man. This is great. This is Blue Raider history, right? This place has history. Not saying that Vanderbilt didn't. Vanderbilt has history too, but I think this place has a different type of history, okay? And so to me, teams that, I came to Vandy and they wanted to be relevant, and so we fought hard to be relevant. Okay, we're fighting hard now to be relevant, right? We're up against the backdrop of being a city, man, that's fast on the go. When I first got to Nashville, okay, Nashville was different in 2014 than what it is now in 2024. This place was different. Like Murfreesboro was different when I came here, I think in 16, okay? What you see now is like Nashville has grown to the borough. And so we're almost one and the same, but yet this place is special and really its own self. It's standing on its own 2 feet right now, just like Vandy is standing on its own 2 feet. The best is yet to come, right? And so for me right now, I think similar places, different points in time, I think this place is at a point where it's ready to go win a championship. Vandy's in a different spot, man. They're working really hard to get there. So I just look at the opportunity here, and I say to the alumni, I say to MTSU fans, MTSU greats, man, let's do this. Let's not wait any longer to talk about things that really don't matter. The legacy is in front of us as much as it is behind us. So, let's bind it, let's tie it, and let's move it forward.
You talk about the opportunity here, and if you listen to our show all the time, and we always talk, there's no reason Middle Tennessee cannot be Boise State or what a Cincinnati was or a UCF was in the group of 5. And so, obviously, win, right?
Yeah.
That's going to help. But what else can you do? We've seen you out doing all your stuff, seen you with the Greeks the other day. But what can you do other than, because you're not going to win a championship tomorrow.
No.
But, how are you and the staff, and what's it looking like to try to sort of re-engage this university and this community?
Well, it's Middle Tennessee, right? First of all, let's talk about Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is a hotbed of talent. Rutherford County, like what it's been, what it's done, and then you jump to Williamson, Davidson County. I get all that, but I think in this county alone, I don't know how much we've engaged, like the community itself. I was talking to our student athletes, and I said, if all we do is spend all our time, because we spend so much time with our teammates, right? That's part of it. A locker room's a special place. That's always going to be there. But I think what we do in the community, what we do outside of that locker room space on campus, especially in a campus like this, that's more community, right, in a lot of ways. First gen, man, they don't know us. So, how does somebody root for somebody they don't know? They got to get to know us. And you know what, man, you dudes are special dudes, man. You guys have special talents. Football's not your only talent. Your ability to connect, okay, and have some connection, man, has to be part of what the mission statement is here for us. And so that's where it starts. I think, the idea is that we have to connect with this community more. Our own campus community, our Boys and Girls Clubs. Here's what I know. If you spend time with children, because you can affect and impact children as much as you can impact anybody, right? So if we can get into schools, if we can do, books and reading, if we have an opportunity to get around boys clubs and spend time around the youth leagues, what you start to build, okay, man, is young Blue Raiders, right? And there's already a lot of them around, man, but those men who maybe don't know you, we got to touch those places, men, that don't know us. We have to touch those places that have been disconnected from us for a minute. Yep. And I think in connecting those pieces, what we'll create is energy. And I think energy begets energy.
That's right. You brought it up too with we talk about this too, the kids, you want these kids to grow up Middle Tennessee fans. Instead of you could live a mile away,
right.
You're rooting for a big school, 3 hours away when you got Division I, you got NFL players.
That's right.
Great coaches that have been everywhere in the country right here.
Yeah.
And there's just no reason. There's no reason. It's I'm getting fired up right now. There's nothing more exciting than if this place was full.
Yeah.
For not just when Vanderbilt comes here or
Yeah.
Duke comes here, but when Western shows up here or when UTEP or anybody like that shows up here. And I mean, you got us buying in.
Well,
you got to get the rest of them bought in, Coach.
You know, great coaches have come through here, man. You look at, I mean, hey, we'll play Duke this year, Manny Diaz.
Yep.
You know, and me and Manny have done football over the years a lot. You know, I mean, obviously I know he was here as defense coordinator, did a heck of a job like during his time here. But there's been so many coaches. I ran into Ellis the other day. You know, and
I love you, Ellis.
dude, man, I mean, it's just amazing. Like, this place has coaching history. It has great players, guys playing in the league. You know, man, right now at a high level, man. Hopefully, a couple in the Super Bowl here quickly, right? I think when you look at truly what this place, you know, is, the community wants it. I mean, the youth leagues, the high school, you know, man, coaches. We went over to see. You know, man, Coach Creasy the other day. I mean, his dad's not doing too well, but we stopped by to see Creasy, and then we went over to see Krisky, and then we went over. I mean, we got around, and you know what? They were like, man, it's good to see Middle back in the house.
Yeah.
That's just so important. Why is it important? Because people want to watch the players they grew up seeing. People want to watch good football. It doesn't mean that we don't, you know, recruit California or we don't get a young man, you know, who comes out of Texas or Carolina, but you know, the reality is, man, there's good football players here too. And like right now, we find ourselves tapping into that. And I think what our fan base is going to see over the next, you know, 24 months is some of those guys that they grew up watching. And that's pretty cool because they help our teammates understand why MTSU is important, right? Because it takes, like when you become a junior or a senior, before you start to understand, like, you know, like what it is to you. But guys that grew up playing here, you know, they have a different affinity. And so when you guys sit down and you're talking, or you guys are in the locker room, or you guys are, you know, heading over to the Boulevard or heading over to the Domenico's to have a sandwich, man, you guys are talking, man, they're just telling you about what it, you know, it was like to grow up here. And I think the thing that's probably hit me the most, people here are kind. They care.
Yeah.
They care. Like, you know, coming from California, this community has embraced you, and you're one of them. And you know what? I mean, so much so, you could have went to a bunch of other places, but you chose to stay here. And I think that's pretty cool. You've chosen to stay here. And I think that says a lot about what Middle Tennessee has to offer a student athlete.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible community, and like you said, I mean, I have a business here now, and it wouldn't have made it through COVID if it wasn't for this community.
That's right.
And definitely recruiting locals a huge part of it, but with this day and age, we got the transfer portal as well.
Talk to me.
So, what do you think about the transfer portal right now, and how you get to use that? Because you can't solely rely on it. It's got to be, you know, I think a nice blend between, you know, recruiting the high school scene, the JUCO scene, and the transfer portal. So, what's kind of your feelings on it, and what's your plan to execute that here at Middle Tennessee?
Well, I think the transfer portal is about the student athlete, and being able to benefit the student athlete. So in that way, you know, I'm for it. I think there needs to be more parameters around it because I think right now the dates don't line up. You know, how guys opt out of, you know, in bowl games and sort of leave their teams in limbo in critical times when really that's why you started the season. You started the season to sort of achieve something different and create some memories, and then in the end, you sort of step away from it. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying, you know, we just need some different windows around the portal, right?
Amen.
But when I look at what the portal is and how we're going to utilize it, we are a developmental program. Okay, and so for us, you know, college football is a junior senior sport. So like to me, to recruit the high school is always going to be our base. It has to be. But I think junior college factors into what we do like as well as a supplemental. And then I think third being the portal. Because culture matters. And I think, man, you can go out and get a good one-year player. But a good one-year player, if it's the right one who can come into Middle Tennessee, okay, man, and understand what we're about that fits this culture, I think it's great. But if it's just going to be about me, I think that's sometimes a dangerous proposition because it affects your culture a little bit, you know? And look, I mean, NIL, I'm all in the NIL space. I love it. but I want to be able to do NIL for our juniors and seniors. I think freshmen and sophomores have to like walk through this process a little bit.
Earn it a little bit.
Yeah, man. It's like that's sort of, you know, Hunger Games. You keep what you kill, right? Yeah. Let's get a sample size of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, come in here, work. And that's why I say like we're developmental, because most guys aren't going to come in here and start. Most guys are going to come in and we're going to get them some playing time. And we got 4 games, and if they're good enough, maybe they do play 8, 9, 10 games, right? But I still believe that their best football is in front of them. So as I look at the transfer portal, I know it's here to stay. I know we're going to get cherry-picked because we're going to develop good players. Mm-hmm. This place, Middle's always had good players. So people are going to come get our players. But you know what? When they do, I'm not afraid of that either, because all you do is make it easier for us to go recruit guys that want to come in and be developed. I mean, if you're coming to get our product, that means we're probably doing a better job than you of building a product, right? 100%. So if that's the case, hey, man, you can come get them. Not everybody's meant for the NIL space. But like that next really good player, hey, man, come here. Okay, but you're going to come here, you're going to get a great degree. Okay, man, you're going to be around people, man, that love you. Okay, you're going to love this place is going to love you back. And when it's all said and done, man, you'll never look at your career and the opportunity that you took here at Middle Tennessee and regret it, man. You'll love every minute of it.
You mentioned a couple things. One is like, you know, the culture. And what kills me about it is, you know, these guys coming and going all the time. And I feel like we're losing out on guys spending 5 years together, becoming best friends, standing in weddings, all that stuff. And so it's like, yeah, you know, you might make a couple $1,000 and whatever, but it's you're missing out on what that college experience really is. Is there I mean, you know, and like you said too, you're going to get cherry picked. A guy comes in and plays as a freshman and he's really good. He's going to be getting phone calls. How do you try your very best to keep those guys here?
Well, yeah, we have some things in the space once we're up and running that we think, you know, like will help us. You know, we're never going to be about, you know, I mean, truly big money, man. But I think what we really need to be about is, you know, how can we help you build your brand? What can we do? I mean, I'm working now with a couple of dealerships, you know, with the idea of, hey, man, supplementing money and being able to, I mean, get a vehicle, man. Because with some, I think, man, it's just got to make sense for where we're at. Like, right? I mean, can you do it for everybody? No. NIL is not for the 5% or the 3%. It's for the 1%, right? So I think what we can do for our juniors and seniors with our collective makes sense to me. Because I think, man, you can help a junior or a senior, okay, I mean, like, in his path, like where he's at in his career, what's going on. Because you generally have a little more going than when you were staying on campus as a freshman, right? You got more going on. But I also believe, too, that if all I'm doing is worrying about NIL and not worrying about the student-athlete experience, well, then I got problems. I got bigger problems, because you're not going to be able to retain your athletes because you got no connection. So I'd rather spend my time like building with the young men who have decided to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years here. And with that, and even when you look at our portal transfer guys, a lot of our guys that came out of the portal have a couple of years left. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 that don't. So we wanted guys that had multi-year, and most of those guys who were 1-year guys were guys I had experiences with before, so they know who I am, so they understand culture, okay, I mean, and what we're trying to build here. So I think, man, you really have to be smart, you have to be very selective, but more than that, it has to fit you, your players, and your program.
Yeah, and we get so frustrated, like, you see all these guys going everywhere. There's so many kids in the portal right now, and it's like somebody's got to be giving these kids some type of knowledge that, like, the grass isn't always greener. Like, these bigger schools, these Power 5 schools are offering you all this money. A, they're not giving that to you all up front.
No.
And B, the ultimate goal should be, I want to go to the NFL. That's where I'm going to get my bag, right?
Right.
Like, not this one-time NIL deal. Like, you look at a place like Middle, Kevin Byard, Charvarius Ward. I mean, we got so many players that went to the NFL. Like, if you are that caliber player, the NFL will find you. You need tape. You need tape. Right. And these kids that are leaving, you know, and I'm not saying don't bet on yourself. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm
saying, like, you got to be realistic, and the best thing you can do is play and put that on film. That's what the NFL wants to see.
I think you speak to a great point. You know, I had a young man, Tyler Steen, played for him. I mean, I had Justin School, Tyrus. I mean, I had a bunch of NFL players, even at Vandy, and people don't recognize. But when you go through rosters and you take a look, man, there were a bunch of guys went on to play. But Tyler got his Vandy degree and called me and was like, "Hey, Coach, Kentucky, Alabama." Chose to go to Alabama, right? It had nothing to do with NIL. It had everything to do. I mean, he had already gotten his degree. See, I mean, I've got no problem with guys who have gotten their degrees and they're looking for a different experience, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's happening now, we've got agents promising parents, okay, they're taking 10 to 20%. Real agents don't take that. You're better off getting a contract lawyer to sit you down and let's talk about what your NIL deal should look like. But you know what? Everybody's getting flashed. You know, everybody's getting hypnotized by the idea of the big bag. And let me tell you something, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's just green. And sometimes it's brown.
Yeah.
Right?
Looks
it's
green
dead
from over
grass.
here.
It's dead grass. But the thing I'll say to that is hopefully what we continue to do is try to educate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was talking to Mike Bobo from Georgia. He came through and just wanted to wish Bodie and myself and, you know, some of our staff members that we had worked together with. He said, man, this thing is crazy. He goes, I mean, it's just crazy. He goes, went into a home and he looked and he was looking at a parent and, you know, parent talked about, you know, like the NIL, but the agent was taking 20%. And for how long?
Yeah.
I'm like, the contract was like through college. Okay, and this is okay, man. He's a young kid in high school.
Yeah.
Okay, sophomore kid, great player, big athlete. But think about that now. Your last 2 years of high school and your college career, he's getting 20%. Man, I said, wow.
Yeah.
We looked at each other. We was like, Mike, the best place to be is the group of five. So I'm sitting here with the group of five guys, right?
Preach, that's what I'm saying.
Let's get some.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Let's get some.
So you brought up Bodie,
Yeah.
right? So you got your staff all dialed in for the most part at this point.
Yeah.
Tell us what it's going to look, offense, defense.
Yeah.
What do you want to do on the field?
You know what? I'll start with special teams, man. I'll start with Luke.
Yeah.
Man, I think Luke's a special dude, but I went after Luke, man. He was at Lafayette, and obviously he played here, but when you look at his special teams and what they've done and where they've been, I have a dedicated special teams coach. Okay, I've got a graduate assistant and an analyst in that role because you have to put an emphasis on special teams, and I believe that's why, man, we were able to get a 5-star punter. Right? We talked about development. Well, there's got to be individual time spent. Man, there's got to be development time spent. Man, there has to be a plan and process for how you're going to develop those guys. Otherwise, they're going to go someplace else. Right? And so I thought Luke, from his knowledge of MTSU to his knowledge of the game to his resume and his body of work, like unbelievable. So we're going to be physical, tough, and intelligent on special teams. It starts there. Nobody wants to start there. I mean, everybody wants to start with offense or defense, but it starts with special teams. Yeah. Last time I checked, man, we kick off, at the start ball game. So that's where we got to start. 3 phases, right? Bodie. Bodie, I got a chance to meet Bodie when I was at Auburn, and Mike Bobo, man, was gone. We were in a bowl game. And I saw the way that dude ran it, right? And I was like, okay, man, Bodie's good. Okay, man, but I'll see where he is in like some time. I thought we'd have a chance to work together again. But when I interviewed him with some of my staff members, he crushed it. I mean, the ball was I mean, I know he was at like Northern Iowa, man, but don't get it twisted. Like when you talk to guys about the game of football and they're talking to you about like the layers, the levels, the run game, the ability to affect the eyes, and he's talking to a defensive guy. So, I'm like, I'm shrinking in my chair because like those are the things that you don't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
All those things that put you in conflict. And it was seamless and it was and it was simple, yet could be very, very complicated, like to somebody having to defend you. Yeah. And I think the simplification part allows our guys to play fast. Okay, so they're going to be involved in a new system, okay, that encompasses, it's going to be a new look offense, right? It's going to have some elements of what we did, but the personnel is going to look different. Okay, man, we're probably going to be maybe some 10 a little bit, but maybe more 11 and 12 in terms of what it looks like. And we want to have a dominant and physical run game, okay? But we also want to be able, look, it doesn't. I want to have 400-yard passing games. We all do, right? Yeah. Everybody likes to see the ball go up and down, but
and the fans do.
Yeah, the fans do, man. But fans don't care how you get there.
That's right.
Like fans don't care how you get there, man. They want dubs, but you also want to be able to have a ground and pound run game. You want to be able to, run the ball when you want to, as well as when you have to, right? And so that required us to be able to go get different styles of backs, not just scat backs. We had to go get big bruising backs. We had to get backs that had dimensions. We had to go get some tight ends. So I think like Bodie fully understood what I wanted, but I think, man, it's been incredible to watch the guys gravitate to the room, right? I mean, between the quarterbacks and everybody else, man, they coming into this room. I mean, he like the Pied Piper right now. So I think for him, he likes where they're at, and I think our players love it. Brian Stewart, like, what can I say? I think his resume speaks to it too. Attacking defense, you're gonna see some things that you've seen over the years. I thought Shafe attacked at times. I know Manny was all about attack, right? So we're gonna be right in the bones of what this place has been defensively, but we also want to be able to stop the run, okay, and make teams one-dimensional and play left-handed. Okay, so you're gonna see, 4, 5, and 6-man fronts. Okay, you have to stop the run and make a team earn it on third down, and that's what we have to do. But we also want to be able to take the ball away. We're trying to get longer defensively, especially on the back end and up front, so we can close some windows. Because you see so much RPO game and quick throws, man. You got to be able to get guys that can get their hands up with a little bit of length, as well as guys who are strong and stout and explosive. And then the last thing, man, is Jamie Blatnick, man. I think if you talk to our guys right now, they'll tell you about the weight room. Mm-hmm. Look, if you're going to win ball games, you got to go to the weight room.
He looks like a strength coach.
Well, we always say the most important hire for a coach is a strength coach.
Say what?
And whenever the picture of him came out, we were all texting each other.
Yeah.
Like, this guy ain't no question strength coach. He couldn't do anything else.
Come on. Yeah, let's get some of that. Jamie, like, to be honest, when you sit down and talk to him, he could probably be a scientist. This dude could be working for NASA. Like, his intellect is up here. So much so that on our first recruiting trip, man, we had to slow that dude down, man. He was talking to such a high level, man. He was talking about peptides and this and that, and dudes, I start seeing parents go like, huh? What are we talking about? So I think this dude is highly functioning in terms of cutting edge with what we want to be. But old school, being under Rob Glass at Oklahoma State and having played for Rob Glass, who's the pinnacle of strength coaches in college football, 22 bowl games, 22 years, is an incredible run. And so, like, what they do, they've done more with less, right? Okay, like, they don't have what Oklahoma has, they don't have what Baylor has, they don't have what TCU has, but they've got that Oklahoma State grit. And so, man, we wanted to bring like a blue-collar mentality to this place where we can grind, okay, and function and let it be about, like, the work. The winning is done between the white lines, but the work gets done when nobody's watching, right? And so I think he brings that mentality, and that's where we sit right now. Jamie's got this thing humming. It's just beginning, but if you talk to our guys, they're starting to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we know you're pressed for time.
Yeah, man.
A couple things, we'll let you go. Probably got to go to the Boulevard and get some grub. But what's the expectation year one? I mean, in this landscape, you mess around and win conference, you might be flirting with the playoff. But what's the expectation? We know it's a process, but what are we looking at year one?
Yeah, I'm not really talking so much about number of games like one, but like the goal is to win a Conference USA title in a bowl game with character, integrity, and academic excellence. And if we can do that, then we've set out to do exactly some of the things that you talked about. But it's about, like, the process of winter to spring to summer to fall. So there's so much time in between to get this thing done, but we're on the clock. And so we want to be competitive. we want to be able to like make this Conference USA feel us, right? Like physically feel us, because the teams that are winning in this conference, they've made you feel them. Liberty made you feel them. New Mexico State made you feel them. Jackson State made you feel them. So we want teams to feel us, and if they feel us, okay, then I think we'll like where we wind up in this thing.
Well, Coach, can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Taking time. Glad to be here. We're nothing but rooting for y'all, rooting for us.
Yeah.
You know, we try to remain neutral, but you know, we wear the blue in private. You know what I mean? So
Appreciate y'all.
Coach Mason, Middle Tennessee, Group of 5 guys. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, let's go blue. Appreciate it. Let's get it. Yep.
Jeff, man, every time we do one of these, I get sold. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but I get sold easily. And all these coaches got great energy, you know, and they all, you know, a lot of them use coach speak and all that good stuff. But man, I really enjoyed just getting to know him at all. I mean, that's the first time I met the guy.
Yeah.
Was right there. I know you've met him a time or two. But you know, first of all, appreciate Coach Mason doing that for us, hanging out with us. And I think hopefully he enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. And I hope the Middle fans and Conference USA fans and the rest of the Group of 5 fans enjoy some of that stuff.
Yeah, and you know, that's the first time in depth that I've been able to sit down and talk with him. So it was awesome to get the chance to do that. And like you said, thank you to Coach Mason. Thank you for Caitlin Manning for coordinating the whole thing. And it was just it was a great experience to really hear his vision. And I didn't know all of his like history, like starting out, and just the influential people that, you know, affected him. And to me, that's when you can really dive in and get deep, you know, in somebody's background like that, and really kind of figure out who they are as a person and where they're going. Because a lot of that stuff shapes you as a person, and especially when you get into the coaching business. So I enjoyed that, you know, that story. And then just listen to him talk about his assistants and coordinators that he's hired.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that he feels like he assembled the best staff possible. Yep. And then they're going to go out and get the best players that they can get.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's a bit of a rebuild, you know, and at this level, you know, at this point in the college football landscape, like you're flipping your roster almost every year, you know, so almost every year you just never know, you know, what team's gonna hit on all their transfer portal guys, or gonna hit on a couple high school guys that can come in and make a difference, or gonna keep the productive guys from getting into the portal. So, you know, we'll see what they do. And then we'll also see, you know, pending the facilities and all of that stuff, we'll see how much better they can continue to do, you know, from a recruiting standpoint, and then from a keeping guys standpoint. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it. There's definitely, as always, with, you know, some new blood in the building, there's going to be a buzz around town. And I do hope, man, I do hope that Murfreesboro shows up for mostly for the players, but for Coach Mason and for those guys, because they deserve it. And that's just what I hope to see, man. But definitely an energetic guy, definitely doing his part. You know, I hope everybody else involved will continue to do their part. And then, you know, we hope it translates to some wins for the Raiders.
Yeah, and I don't know what the bar is for year one. I mean, they lost all their upperclassmen pretty much to the portal. I know that, you know, they got a couple guys back in, and there'll be another wave after spring ball of departures and signees. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But no, I agree. I'm excited for him and excited for the players. And, you know, you fans on the Twitter boards and the message boards and all that wanted Stock on. He's gone. You got your new guy, so you better get your ass in the seats. That's all I got to say.
Heard that. Well, as always, we appreciate you viewing the show, listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search Group of 5 Guys. Subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Follow us on all the social platforms at Group of 5 Guys, or you can go to group5guys.com, where you can get some extra information about us, but also get you some merch. Out of here.